Hey, bestie, and welcome back to a very special episode of the Plobcast. This month is June, which is both Pride Month and Men's Mental Health Month. So we're going to talk about both of those things, which is why I'm doing a special episode in the middle of the week. This will probably be uploaded on a Wednesday, but my second episode of the week will typically be on Thursday. So starting next week, they will be on Thursdays. They'll still have the initial GameStop episode every single Monday, but then on Thursdays we will have the second episode. What's really sad about talking about both Pride Month and Men's Mental Health Month is literally never, in the years I have spent on social media, even just browsing social media before I even made videos, I never see content creators talk about both of these. They either take a side or the other. They either talk about men's mental health or they talk about pride. And it's like, why can we not talk about both? Both are important. And men's mental health actually kind of plays into some of the stories I tell, because one thing I see a lot is there are certain stories that will be sent in to me that I don't, or like certain people's videos who I won't cover, and I'm going to talk about that in this because of the reason why. But also, as somebody who's part of the queer community, it's important to talk about pride. And as always, this is still not going to be for little ears. While it's not going to be super graphic like what happened in earlier this week's episode, there are some harsher topics that we're going to be bringing up people like Lily Tino and the harm that they do, if that gives you an example. So let's start right out with pride. If you do not know, somehow you don't know who Lily Tino is, but you know who Chris Chan is, because most people in the gaming community know who Chris Chan is, because she is a monster. She's the one that, spent time, which I still have the copy of the body footage from her getting arrested for raping her own mother, but I have not gotten a chance to film that yet on YouTube. I will soon, I promise. But if you don't know who Lily Tino is, take Chris Chan and jack it up about 1,000. And that's Lily Tino. They are both rage baiters. They are both extreme because they want attention and free things. I do want to mention a lot of people get upset and they'll be like, oh, I don't recognize Lily Tino or Chris Chan as trans women because they're, pieces of shit. Here's the thing is, when you imply that like, oh, they're not trans women because they're pieces of shit, it makes it seem like trans people are perfect and you can only be trans if you're a perfect person, and then it starts to feed into that we're giving people excuses if they are trans, when realistically trans people can be, they're just like everybody else. They can be good, they can be bad, they can be average. I am a part of that community myself as someone who is intersex, who I was put on hormones at a very young age because my parents wanted a girl. My body was like, no, we're literally, trying to be a boy right now. Like my body physically started making more testosterone than like a cis man and stuff. So that's how I ended up where I am now. I am also both pansexual and demi. I don't like having to sit there and list all of these labels, and I'm not trying to say that they're not useful in some cases, but there gets to a point, buddy. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm sorry if you get, well, I'm not even sorry if you get offended. If you have to read off a list, that's when it becomes a problem, because I will mention that I'm pansexual when people ask me about my sexuality, and I mention that I'm demi whenever it comes in, when it's important to mention, if that makes sense. So if you don't know what demisexual, most people know what pansexual means. It just means I date everybody. I don't care what's in your pants. You can have a joystick, a touchpad, a custom controller. Either I want to play the game or I don't. And demisexual, in this kind of the same metaphor, is I don't date based off of somebody's looks. It is why none of my exes look anything alike. People are very confused because I've dated people of every size, height, race, all of it. People are very confused when they look at, like, if I were to line all my exes up, nobody would believe that they were all my exes. And it's because I look at dating from a personality standpoint. I cannot become physically attracted to somebody that I don't know. When I was younger and kids would like look at these like sexy models, especially because I had to come out as bi first backwards. Everybody thought I was a lesbian, even my parents, because I was hitting on women at like 4 years old. Nobody believed it. Like the first time I brought a boy home because I was a teenager, nobody believed. Everybody was like, this is a lavender relationship. You're just his beard, right? And I'm like, no, I actually like a male for once. Thank you. But demisexual, it is focused on personality. I can't look at a stranger and determine if they're hot or not. I recognize what society sees as attractive, but that doesn't attract me. So like I said, pretend that a PlayStation is a girl, an Xbox is a boy, and the PC is everybody in between. Some people only like to play on the PlayStation. Some people only like to play on the PC. Some people like to play the PC and the PlayStation, or the Xbox and the PlayStation, whatever combination. I don't care what system we are playing on. Either I want to play the game or I don't. And it's that simple. And I will admit, my own personal bias, like my own personal experience, is one thing that makes me want to pull my hair out so badly when it comes to rage bait queer creators like Lily Tino and Chris Chan. And just to clarify, when I say they are not a part of the community, I'm not saying that they are not gay or trans or anything like that. I'm saying they are not a part of the community itself, because all they do is damage it. If you are unaware, Lily Tino's videos a couple years ago, when Florida was having some different debates on some anti-trans laws, Lily Tino's videos were showed by politicians to push people to vote against trans rights. Lily Tino does real life damage. It's not just social damage. She has done real life damage to the community. It has nothing to do with her, being trans, like her problematic behavior. But that is what transphobic people will associate it with, is the problem here. For example, I do not pass. I fully admit that. I am on T, but because of damage I got from chemical inhalation in the Army, and also damage from being put on estrogen as a kid, being forced on it by my parents because they wanted a girl. My body started to form into a boy, because when you're intersex and you're a baby, you don't know. But because I had, the outside was female, to put it lightly, they wanted a girl. And because of all of that, I will never pass. That is not something that I will ever be capable of. I tried. I went through it for years, and my body just can't handle it. I am on a low dose of testosterone. That's why I sound like this. And I know a lot of people are like, you still have a kind of feminine sounding voice. Go watch any video from before I started testosterone. I sounded like an e-girl, like Minnie Mouse. My voice was so naturally high. I also had cut my hair off to donate, which is why it's long now, is I am growing it back out to donate again. I also never really got the whole long hair means that you're a woman. I hate that theory, because one, I have been attracted to multiple men with long hair. I'm a Shigaraki simp and a spinner simp, for God's sakes, right? But also, my stepdad, the man who raised me, was Native. He had long hair. He had a lot of cultural traditions. He grew up on the reservation. All of the long hair had nothing to do with gender there. Same thing with the Black community. I come from biologically, I come from a mixed race family, and I have several cousins and stuff. People think that their locks are hair extensions, because my one cousin has beautiful locks, and they are all natural. I've noticed, I don't know what it is, but the only time I ever have somebody make a comment about how long hair is feminine, it somehow ends up always being a white person. And I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Besides, I need my hair to be slightly long so that when I'm between your mother's legs, she has something to hold on to. I have had a breast reduction that I had when I was younger because of all of the estrogen. I was like a J cup by 6th grade. It was a problem. But I've been working on shrinking my chest too with workouts to get it smaller, because even after that, especially when I had my first kid, my breasts came back, and I'm like, hi, can you not? I got rid of you. Why are you here again? But as someone who does not pass, it gets so incredibly frustrating seeing people like Lily Tino do what they do. Lily Tino, if you've not seen her videos, she is the one that goes to Disney and acts super inappropriate around kids. She also rage baits people for to misgender her. So she has a very muscular build. A lot of people say she's like a lumberjack build, which, first of all, women can be muscular too. Dear Lord, have you seen Radney? Holy gosh, Ripley. That woman, if you don't know, she's from wrestling. I don't even watch wrestling, but I'll watch that girl any day. I'd let her throw me around the ring at any point. The blonde girl with the evil doll, too. I can't remember her wrestling name, but her, too. But because Lily Tino also has body hair, she sounds male. She hasn't, tried to get a feminine voice or anything like that. A lot of people will accidentally misgender her. The problem is she does it on purpose and then has an insane, burst every single time. She likes to live stream. A lot of people have caught her on camera when she's not live streaming, setting this shit up. She also does not have a problem if a traditionally attractive woman or someone like the princesses at Disney and things, like if a traditionally attractive woman accidentally misgenders her, she's like, oh, it's she, by the way, no problem. But if a wait staff or a man misgenders her, she loses her ever-loving shit. She demands that she gets food at restaurants. She literally hops around different restaurants in her area and will purposely try to set up waiters to misgender her on camera so she can scream and treat them like shit and then demand that they give her free food. I do not know if she's still there, but she was recently at Disney World again too. If you don't know about the Disney World video, she literally went to Disney World last year, somehow didn't get banned. I have no idea how she didn't get banned. But she came to Disney World and buys like cake pops and stuff, and then starts talking about penises and vagina and gender reconstruction surgery and exactly how they were going to make her penis into a vagina with the food in front of a large group of children. Like, she tries to claim, oh, there was no children in the background. People could see in the live stream that she did. Like, people were seeing in this video. She was also live streaming before she made the video, and you could literally see there's children around. And I don't care what your gender is, what your sexuality is. As an adult, you should never be talking about genitalias with random children around. She recently went back to, and wasn't even sure if she was allowed in. She even, when checking in, like, was streaming it and being like, oh, I don't know if I'm banned. Let's see if I'm banned. Goes in and immediately goes and buys a corn dog and starts doing the exact same thing all over again. Sadly, there are so many situations where her videos are shown by politicians and by these anti-trans rights, activism groups and stuff of her. Before her, there was also Chris Chan. Chris Chan with all their crap. If you don't know, Chris Chan has even admitted herself that she only transitioned because she wanted to get with lesbians. And as I said in my video about this, Chris Chan does not, bitch, you are not getting anyone. Whether you're in a dress or pants or whatever the fuck you decide to wear today, you're just a piece of fucking shit. Nobody wants your inbreeding psycho ass. But it's people like this that get so fucking under my skin, because it's not just the damage they're doing to the trans community. It's the damage they do to people like me who don't pass, because I have had people assume that, like, I don't freak out on anybody who accidentally misgenders me. There is a world of difference in, like, a Walmart cashier that I'm literally never going to see again, or a waiter at a store, or at a restaurant or something. I'm never going to see them again. It does not bother me that, like, yeah, it sucks, but it doesn't, I'm not going to throw a public temper tantrum because a stranger accidentally misgendered me. That's fucking stupid. It is different if it's someone in your personal life who knows you and they're doing it on purpose. That's super disrespectful. That's super rude. You don't have those kind of people in your life. If they're going to be that freaking, like, to do it purposefully in a mocking way, don't put up with that kind of stuff. Someone else who I want to be absolutely 100% clear that is not a part of the LGBTQ queer community, whatever you want to call it, is fucking pedophiles. Nobody wants anything to do with these fucking pedophiles. And every year on Pride, I see fucking sicko pedophiles who will come on the internet. And my mutual JD even posted, I'm pretty sure he was the one that posted the video of the guy who literally was like, you can't say you support the LGBTQ if you don't support pedophiles too. Fuck you. Go please jump off a fucking bridge if you touch children. If you're attracted to children and you're like, I don't know if I can hold back anymore, there's no such thing as a good pedophile. If you're having to fucking take care of the problem yourself, you want to be a good person, take care of the fucking problem before you do something. I will say it loud and proud, pedophiles' lives do not matter. And that goes for men and women, because I don't know what the fuck is going on, but I saw the other day, I was watching a news article, like a news story about a teacher who's like in her 40s who was messing with a 5th grader. A 5th grader, a little boy. And it pissed me off so badly because a couple days later, I was babysitting my friend's kids. And one of her sons is the same age as that, as the little boy who was groomed and essayed by this woman, because that's what it is. It's sexual assault. And I was so fucking disgusted. Thinking about, like, how the fuck do you look at a child that age? Because she's older than me. She's in her mid-40s. I just turned 30. And I'm sitting here like, I would never in a million fucking years, I want to vomit at the fact that somebody would even look at a child like that. Same thing with the men, though. All of them wood chipper. and know they are not a part of the queer community. They will never be a part of the queer community. I really need them to stop trying to convince people that they are. And anyone who says they are, run. If somebody says that pedos are a part of it, or what they call themselves MAPs are a part of the queer community, run from that person. I automatically blocked like 4 people that commented on my post about the pedo stuff and be like, oh, but MAPs are a part of... No, they're not. No, they're not, and they never fucking will be. That actually slightly brings up the conversation of men's mental health, is how dismissive we are with male victims when it comes to SA if the perpetrator is a woman. And if you were around for that nightmare that I dealt with, I knew somebody who had SA'd 3 separate men and was like, oh no, it's fine, and it led to them having, one ended up in a mental ward, one ended up taking his own life. It was really bad. But during all of that, there was so many people who were like, oh, we want to see the video of it, we want to do this, like, and telling these men that they weren't real victims because she was a woman. And that's how she looked at it too. She was like, oh, but I'm a woman. So I'm like, no, you're not. That has nothing. No, fuck you. A predator is a predator. I don't give a shit what's in your pants. If you're a fucking predator, you are the problem. Same with domestic violence. I cannot stand this double standard that, like, if a woman's hitting a man, like physically harming him, that it's not abuse. He's just supposed to put up with it. While volunteering at DV for over a decade, I've had 3 separate men come in. Only 3. One was a gay man that was being abused by his male partner, and 2 were men who were being abused by female partners. And it's super sad knowing that there's more people. Knowing for a fact there are more men out there that face these kind of things and don't come forward because of that double standard. For example, the one of the 3 that I went to help was a huge dude. Bodybuilder. I mean, massive. He was like 3 of me. And she was like half of me. She was under 5 foot, little tiny, 90 pounds soaking wet. It would literally take objects and beat him upside the head with it. And when we went to like help him move out, she literally got in my face, got in other volunteers' face, started calling us gender traitors because we were helping. Bitch, you're an abuser. What the fuck are you talking about, lady? And she had talked about, and he had caught her on recording too, of saying that if she ever turned him in, that she would pull the, oh, you hit on me, knowing that a cop is going to look at, a lot of people are going to look at a huge, massive dude like him and not believe that he was the one being abused, sadly. Oh, and sorry about that pause, guys. I don't know what happened. The computer froze up. Yep. And sadly, I have seen that with personal relationships. In my personal life, I have one of my brothers was severely abused by a woman, and he was raised to never put his hands on a woman. So he just kind of put up with it. He had very much that mindset that like, oh, as a man, you're just supposed to put up with it. It was to the point he ended up hospitalized, and we didn't know if he was going to live. And he then finally confessed what happened, right? And we were young teenagers. Statute of limitations is long run up on this, but I will admit me and my friends went and handled her as teenagers. Now, I'm not saying you should go out and do that. I'm not promoting, do as I say, not as I do. No, please. But the sad, it was so sad thinking about the fact that he was laying there, could have lost his life because of this double standard, and he was afraid to tell anybody. Ironically, when she ended up in the hospital, she ended up on the same floor, and they ended up putting security, like a cop out front, because she was also under arrest too at the same time because of him, coming forward. I have a cousin who has dealt with the same thing one of my friends dealt with too, Gentle Giant. He's a black man, and he likes to date white women, and he had a white woman who would constantly put her hands on him and would pull the fact that she knew that we were in a small town full of racists, and she would straight up tell him, oh, if you're going to, if you ever try to leave me or you ever try to call the cops on me, I'll make it seem like you're just this big scary black man beating on this little white woman. Yeah, that didn't go well, because as the one white cousin, I get this crazy thing called white privilege in situations like this. You can't pull that on me, sweetheart. You can't call him, say, big scary black man beat you up when realistically you were beating him up, if I am standing there in between the two of you, because now you're laying your hands on me, and that is a whole nother fucking ballpark. And a lot of these double standards we have in society are leading to the male loneliness epidemic. Whenever somebody brings up the male loneliness epidemic, they seem to always forget that part of it, that a large reason for such a large amount of lonely men, and like we covered this last week and in one of my videos on some of the stuff that guys have given advice to other guys for that's just horrible. But a large portion is those guys doing this to other men. The people like Andrew Tate who hire OnlyFans models and sit there with them and be like, look, I get to sleep with all of these women. Just spend all your money paying me to teach you. I'm not going to actually teach you anything because all I did was buy fucking OnlyFans models and make them lie, and literally make contracts with them to pretend like they slept with you. Or a full-on 304. If you don't know what 304 is, a prostitute, full-service sex worker. They will literally hire these women to pretend so they can scam other men, and then they give them horrible, shitty advice that they know is horrible, shitty advice that they pulled out of their ass that they know is not going to work. That way, they can swoop in and be like, "Oh, this guy, all these guys are treating you this way. That's so horrible. Let me swoop in and play Prince Charming so I can get laid." When realistically, he's the one that told the men to treat you that way. A lot of these double standards and stereotypes also play a big role in the male loneliness epidemic, with the boundaries and guidelines that men for years have set up for what's considered masculine. And a lot of it's horseshit. Like, I hate when I hear somebody be like, "Oh, it's you know, you're not a man if you're crying." And then you act surprised when so many of them take their own lives because you shame them. You shame other men and tell them that they're not real men if they show any kind of emotion, which is a crock of shit. Everybody is a human, and there's nothing feminine or gay. That's another one I keep hearing guys being like, "Oh, it's gay if you cry." What the fuck are you talking about? No, it's not. That has nothing to do with being gay at all. Men should be able to cry and show their emotions without this stupid double standard of being like, "Oh, that makes you feminine or less of a man." No, it makes you more of a man because at least you had the balls to let out your emotions instead of bottling them up like these fucking assholes do and tell you that you're supposed to. No, all wrong. I've heard so many also be told by like other men, like, oh, some of these, alpha male podcasts be like, "Oh, never let a woman see your emotions or crying or something. Are you being nice or sweet? They'll think that you're soft and they don't want anything to do with you." It's literally the exact opposite. And you want some proof that it's the exact opposite of that? Not only can you just scroll on like TikTok or anywhere where women talk about what they're attracted to and how attracted to the like men that actually show their emotions they are, but I also, if you don't know, write very not for safe work commissioned fan fictions. So I will have people commission me to write a very dirty fan fiction for them. I've done this since I was like 18, 19. I've been doing this for years, right? Just on the side, I'll randomly have somebody commission me to write a really dirty erotic fanfic, right, about their favorite favorite character, not creator. That is a line I will not cross. I will never ever write something about a real person. That's no. Especially as somebody who's had something done like that to them. I'll get into that in a second. But their favorite character. And the other day, I had somebody who wanted a fanfiction from Dobby from My Hero Academia. And part of what she wanted was literally a crying scene. That was literally part of it. She wanted like all this kinky stuff, but she also wanted like intimacy in the beginning. And she straight up said she wanted a part where Dobby like finally cries and shows emotions for all of the trauma that he went through. Like, she wanted this to be this whole fan fiction and fantasy of like him finally showing emotions and everything, talking about everything he went through and processing them, and her helping him like through all of that. And I did write one like that, and she absolutely loved it. I actually showed a few friends the fan fiction too, to proofread it, and they loved it. Another stereotype that this not showing emotions thing kind of plays into is the whole stigma around men getting mental health help. Like, there are so many freaking like BS posts and people who'll be like, "Oh, it's a therapy's for women only." No, it's not. It's for men too. Same thing with asking for help. I don't understand who the fuck thought it was a good idea to tell men like, "Oh, you should never ask for help. Like, it makes you less of a man." No, it doesn't. Once again, it makes you more of a man because you at least have the balls to do it when a lot of people don't seem to. There are people out there that will drive past the same exit 15 times doing loops because they don't want to fucking look at a map or ask anybody for directions. You know who really has some fucking balls? The people that stop and go, maybe I should fucking ask for directions. A lot of the male loneliness epidemic stems from these horrific stereotypes that shouldn't be around, should have never been around, or even made in the first place. Another stereotype that I see a lot of, which I still do not grasp, is men feeling self-conscious about their dick size. Now, if you don't know who Girthmaster is, it's a man with a very what's the other guy's name too? There's another one too with a really big dick. Jason something. I don't know, that's not the kind of stuff that I watch. But both of them are very large men. like downstairs. They have humongous dicks, and both of them have talked about how they're both porn stars and how they can't work with everybody because it is not the flex that people think it is. And I've had discussions with women about this. If you don't know, I teach kink safety classes a couple times a year at different events, and just safety around those things so couples can explore safely, because half the advice you get on TikTok is dangerous, literally dangerous. This will end you in the ER. I swear, there's a running joke, because if you don't know, I also used to work in a trauma ER. There's a running joke that we have anytime we see like a video going viral of like some really bad kink advice and like something that's actually really dangerous if not done right. Like me and the group chat of other, emergency room workers and former emergency room, we will talk about, they're like, oh, guess the emergency room is going to be full tonight because everybody's going to be trying this dumb shit soon that's super unsafe. But during those classes, I have asked women, and it's something that gets brought up a lot, and they'll be like, yeah, I would never want to be with someone like Jason, whatever the guy's last name is, or the Girth Master dude, because it's too fucking big. I know women who have a very large body count that will straight up tell you the most satisfied they've been is with average guys rather than the massive dudes, because it gets uncomfortable. It is not a comfortable thing. The only people that seem to care about dick size actually care about it is other men. So unless you're like gay and you're trying to promote, get with another man, maybe that's different. I'm not saying you can't do that, happy pride. But if you're trying to impress a woman, I promise she does not give a shit about your dick. And if you are only attracted to women, then why are you caring what other men think? It is not the size of the needle, but how well you sew. But in that same note, you can't sew with a crochet needle or a thumbtack for that matter. But if you do have a thumbtack, which when I say thumbtack, I'm talking about someone with medical micro penis, like actual medical, because I see that term thrown around a lot, people being like micro penises. It actually, there's a big difference in like having a smaller dick and having a micro penis. Micro penis is actually genetic. It has to do with your genes and your biology. But fun fact, men with micro penises can still have intimate intercourse with women, or men if that's what they prefer. Either way, they can still have intercourse, and the woman can still enjoy it. Crazy thought there, but it's true, because there's a lot more you can do in the bedroom than just fucking play Seabat and hump in and out to that. And yes, that song, even 3 years later, is still stuck in my head. If you've not seen it, look up Seabat, CBAT, incident, or Reddit incident. There was a guy who was humping his partner to that. I don't fucking know. I don't know which rhythm he was going to, but that was apparently the song he played his rhythm to. It was weird. Honestly, the only time I've seen a woman get mad about a dick being smaller is because the guy lied about it. And she wasn't mad about the size. She was mad about him lying about it. One thing that I find slightly comical about these stereotypes with men is I keep seeing men bash other men for being munches. Or just going on down on women in general. And then Sinners came out, the movie, and Michael B. Jordan was like, let me show you how to get this fucking done. And ironically, munches usually are the ones who end up in like long-term happy. They're the ones that are getting all their kinks fulfilled. I'm gonna tell you right now, people will make fun of like the nerdy guys, but the way an alternative or a hippie woman or, will swoop up and fucking fulfill every goddamn BDSM fantasy that man has ever had. Like, I swear they eat that shit up. I may also be guilty of that as an alternative person. Anyways, I have seen so many guys, because of these stereotypes, make fun of other men for doing things that are actually attracting women to them, okay? Like the niceness, the sweet stuff, the being emotional, the fucking eating pussy, the giving attention and stuff, all of that. I will see other men that will dog on men who do that, but the irony is at the end of the day, the man who is doing that stuff, who isn't afraid to show his emotions, who isn't bottling it up, who isn't, being an ass and just trying to show off to his buddies, is the one that when he gets old, he's going to have somebody by his side. He will be taken care of because he'll have kids that actually want to be around him. He's going to have a community. He's the one that's going to have somebody to call whenever when he needs something. And who's not going to have anybody to call in 10, 15, 20 years when they're older, is the asshole who made fun of men for the other men. That's the guy that's going to be sitting eating a can of baked beans, or apparently MREs. I saw that earlier. Eating MREs off the TikTok shop while sitting there with nobody. If you are doing something that feels true to yourself and you feel good as a person, it's something that you want to do, that you enjoy doing, and somebody else is calling you less of a man to do that, they have their own fucking insecurities and they're full of goddamn shit. They're jealous of you. That is the whole thing. That is the whole goddamn truth. If some man is shitting on you because you did something that you enjoyed, but he's like, oh, you're not as much as a man because you're not acting this certain way, tell him to go fuck himself, because that's the only person who is going to fuck him. Because you should be doing what makes you happy, what you enjoy, not just whatever impresses your toxic friends. There was a study a few years ago, and I know I've spoke about this before, that showed where the reason why so many men perceive that women only care about looks is because of stereotypes, and because a large portion of them do take in looks more into consideration compared to women who take it into personality. And because they're looking at it through the lens of they are looking at looks with a partner more, they can't grasp, some of them cannot grasp that women's brains do not look at that the same way. I mean, just look up some of these celebrities' wives. Oh my God, some of the hottest supermodels on the face of the fucking planet are dating these guys who most people would consider very conventionally unattractive, ugly, or fat, or whatever. I hate using those terms, but that's how society would look at them in, and they'll even make comments on it, and they will have the hottest fucking girlfriend on the face of the planet. And you want to know how they got her? By showing their emotions, by treating her right, like doing what they have always wanted to do, but have been too afraid to do because of their toxic friends. It will forever be lonelier to sit in a room full of people and still feel lonely and still feel unwanted than to sit in your room alone waiting to find decent friends. So many people think, oh, it's, at least I have friends, but then the friends treat them like shit. They don't actually care about them. They're not there for them. And a lot of people get this mindset, but at least I have somebody around. I promise you, as long as you keep those toxic people around, you are not going to be able to find people that actually care about you, because they don't want to be around your toxic friends. I can't tell you how many guys I've met that will straight up be like, yeah, I like hanging out with this guy, but he's always with this group of friends, and I don't like the guy's friends. That's why we didn't become friends with him. Why that guy didn't become friends with him, because of the toxic friends. Also, real quick, for all of the women listening to this, I do want to add that, for the love of God, stop faking it during sex. That's another stereotype that drives me insane, is that should be illegal. It should be illegal to fake an orgasm during sex, because what ends up happening is when women fake it with men repeatedly, instead of just saying what they want, just saying do this, do that, or left, right, up, down, increase the speed, whatever. Instead of that, for some reason they just fake it, and then these guys who are bad in bed continue to be bad in bed, because in their minds they're doing a great job. Okay, and then they get stuck on people like me end up dating them, and I have to fucking fix all of the wiring, because you've wired them to be bad in bed because you faked it, instead of just being like, hey, maybe we move over to this angle, or go up, down, whatever your preference is, but instead you fake it. Stop. That needs to be illegal. And it makes sense that guys continue to be bad in bed whenever you fake an orgasm, because think about it. If you were at work and you are given a task and your coworkers are like, yeah, you're doing amazing at this task, you're doing great, please keep doing this task, because you are just doing it so great, right? Filing that paperwork over there. Of course you're going to keep filing the paperwork the same way, because you're like, oh, I got commended on this. Oh, this must be the perfect way to do it, even though the whole time you were doing it wrong. And then your boss comes in and is like, what the fuck? Why is this all done wrong? And they're like, well, what do you mean? Everybody said I was doing a great job. Another very toxic stereotype that I saw was a post from a guy who it was like a picture of his truck, and then he had this quote over it, and it said that men's trauma makes them stronger, builds their character, and women's trauma breaks them. That's why men's past doesn't matter and women's past do, which is a crock of crap. The whole your trauma makes you stronger in the fucking first place, that entire saying already pisses me off as it is. But then to be like, oh, men's past doesn't matter, women's do. They both fucking matter. One does not matter more than the other. They both fucking... Well, who the fuck is coming up with this shit? Because, baby, Texas is a mutual combat state. And I just want to know who the fuck's coming up with this shit. Because I would like to invite them to the gym up and just rock their fucking shit. Because they goddamn deserve it. Whoever the fuck is coming up with these horrible toxic stereotypes, it's insane. And earlier I mentioned how there are certain stories that I don't share, that, videos that get sent into me. And there's some that I'm just behind on. There are some that I legit just need to get done. But there's some that I have let people know that I will not be doing, because I go and look at these guys, and it's clear that they're just socially awkward. They bathe, they don't say like super inappropriate things or anything like that. They're not harming anybody. They're not plobs. A lot of times they're autistic, to be honest. A lot of times they're just autistic. And it frustrates me when people send me that, and I try to be like polite and educate on it and be like, hey, like this person is just socially awkward. This is just somebody who hasn't had a lot of social experience. They're not a plob. They're not being an elitist in gaming. They're not stinking up the place. They're not rubbing shit on play. They're not jerking off to like little girls and anime figures. They're just socially awkward guys, which doesn't automatically make them a bad person. Now, are a lot of plobs socially awkward too? Yes, but being socially awkward in general doesn't automatically make you a plob. I'll admit, there is one though that got me. That got me at first, because people started tagging this person called Nova Online, and at first I thought he was just one of those guys that was like socially awkward, because like the couple of videos I followed him for a short bit just to see what his content was about, and most of it he looked showered. He wasn't talking about anything crazy. So I was like, oh, like I was like, why are people like dogging on this dude? He doesn't seem to be doing anything. He's just a plus size geeky guy. Like, what's the problem? And then I saw those videos that people have recorded of his lives and his chats and him talking to little girls online very inappropriately. And I'm like, whoops. Speaking of quote unquote advocates, because Nova says that they're a mental health advocate, but speaking of crazy advocates, I think that's also part of the problem with the men's mental health awareness and things like that is, and I'm not saying all of them. I would love to have a men's mental health advocate on here that's like legit and stuff. Like, I like the way JD did. He doesn't like, that's not his regular content, but that's something that he's talked about before. Tyler used to talk about it when he was still on the app. He left the app because of harassment he was getting in parasocial relationships. Poor guy. Like, I remember seeing him at a convention. He didn't even announce that he was going to, and like we were chatting because we're mutuals, and he was talking about like leaving social media soon, and he did end up leaving it because of a lot of creepy parasocial relationships he was getting. But the problem is there's also a lot of bad advocates. There are a lot of, what, like I said, it's not just the bad dating advice, them purposely giving bad dating advice to scam men and stuff. There's also other guys who claim to be men's mental health advocates. It's usually a pick-me woman like Pearl, who do a fucking terrible job. It's a running joke about how Pearl literally, says all these extreme things to make women mad, and says all these things to impress men, and then still is somehow single. And it's like, yeah, because you're a pick-me and they're still not going to pick you. There's another one that's really similar to Pearl, but I can't remember her name. But when people like Pearl are the advocate, it makes things 100 times worse. It does. They claim that they're doing this for men's rights, but they're making it 100 times worse because they say the most extreme fucking things. But I've seen people who are like, yeah, I don't really agree with like majority of what Peach says, but she's the only male men's health advocate I could find that does say some right stuff. A clock's all is going to be correct at least once a day. So, it's not a shock that some of the stuff that she says makes sense, but majority of it is bullshit. But they'll say, yeah, I just follow her because I don't have anybody else to follow, which is insane to think about. Like, we need more mental health advocates that actually know what the fuck they're talking about and aren't toxic assholes. There's also a lot of performative activism. Like I've talked about the guys several times. Sorry, I had to pause because my kid came in my room. So the performative activism is so real, which is it's not just with like men's rights and stuff. It's in general. You see it with BLM, the white creators pretending to give a shit when they don't actually. They just put it in their profile. Pride stuff, you see all the people during Pride being like, we love Pride, we're going to release Pride merch and stuff, and then the rest of the year being pieces of shit that are actually homophobic. But whenever the stuff was going down, when I was talking about male essay, because of that girl essaying 3 different men, and I was talking about how insane it was that like how they were being treated in their situation, versus there was literally a woman who came out who was essayed at the exact same event, and she was being spread with love and support, but people were going after these guys. Videos or blah, 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 or you're not as much as a man, or it was done by what, and all that BS. I had a couple of men's rights activists reach out to me, and there was one in particular she's actually decently big too, who her whole page is supposedly men's rights, right? It took me didn't take me very long to realize she was full of shit, and it was a performance, because when we were having private conversations over calls, like with this group call, she was just shitting, like on all these harmful stereotypes, all of these like BS and stuff about, oh, like, real men, all this shit. And I'm like, wow, that's really, I do not have a big enough platform to go up against her. So that's why I've never spoke about that publicly, and why I'm not using her name, because she does have a very large platform, and my account will be gone in about 2 seconds if I try to stand up to that bitch. But I did want to talk about it on here to remind people to be careful with performative activism, not just within male rights, but also in the Pride community. It is June. It is Pride Month. You are going to see companies, especially Target, the U-Haul thing with the lesbian, that's just fucked up. But they're doing that because they are trying to make up for the fact that they, are in a lot of trouble right now for getting rid of DEI and all of that stuff. So they're trying to get people back when realistically they treat, queer employees like shit. There are creators who will be homophobic all year long. And then Pride Month comes around, and they're like, oh, happy Pride, I'm so amazing. Please be careful of these people. Same things, like I said, with Black Lives Matter and stuff. You will have a lot of performative activists. I do apologize if you just heard the noise in the background. There's a freaking TV going. I am going to go turn that down real quick. Now that that's fixed, please, once again, keep in mind, be careful with some of these activists and stuff. Like, some of them we will start selling, like, Pride merch and everything, because they want your money, but they don't actually care. I've seen men's rights shirts being sold and stuff, and then you find out it's somebody just wants your money. They don't give two shits about you. They don't give two shits about the problem, or even what the things they're selling is actually meaning. They don't care. It's one of the reasons I live stream every month when I am donating to the domestic violence shelter, because and a lot of people are like, oh, we trust you. You've been doing this for years. We're not. And I'm like, I understand that. But the reason I do it is to push other creators, because there are a lot of other creators who be like, I'm going to donate to this. All proceeds go to that. And then they don't. They keep the money. I was a +1 at a creator event in DFW one time for a friend of mine who's a large creator. We ended up leaving early because there was like 3 different creators who were openly admitting all of their crap that they post and say, like, oh, I'm fundraising for this. Yeah, it was all fake. They lied. They keep all of it. It's also, once I start to get monetized on YouTube, which I'm working on. I've got to make some videos on there though. I have enough followers because I've got like almost 3,000 followers, but I don't have enough, hours of view because I don't have enough content on there. But once I have gotten enough to start being monetized, I will be opening up a local Battle Buddies chapter, which is to help veterans in crisis, which most of them are men. Most of them are men that are in these situations, especially because the VA does not give a shit. The suicide hotline will put you on hold. The night that my close friend passed away when we were on active duty, or he took his own life, when they went through his phone, found he'd even called the suicide hotline, and he was in a combat unit similar to what I was, and was told the same thing that I was whenever I asked about getting mental health help, that they basically punish you for it. They told me I needed to be a man about it. Like, if I wanted to be in a man's unit and I wanted to be in combat, then I needed to man up and just deal with it myself. And that's what a lot of the guys were told too. That is what my friend was told before he took his own life, which is why opening a Battle Buddies chapter in my area is so important to me. But when I do that, when I start to get monetized, obviously I'm not going to immediately make as much money as I need to for that. It takes a lot of money. So I'm going to be live streaming that too, like be putting it aside, and how much I make and everything. And once again, that is not because I don't think my followers should. My followers, my mutuals, all of them have been around long enough. Like, it's to kind of force the hand of other creators, especially with the amount of them that lie. For example, there is one creator from she's from my husband's home state. She is racist, homophobic, super anti-gay. She literally, as bad as it fucking gets. Every kind of bigotry you can think of. Like, it's funny because when Pride Month happened, one of her neighbors, like I said, she's pretty famous on the internet, for her skits. And one of my husband's, family members is friends with one of her neighbors. And, like, she has fucking anti-Pride signs already up in her freaking yard. But she actually got caught lying because at one point she was like, oh, the hurricanes just happened. We need to donate. And people were like, why aren't you donating too? And she's like, oh, I totally am. I don't make that much money on here, though. You guys think that I make all this money. And then somebody exposed her because she made like 50 grand a fucking month and was lying about it. And then like a few months later, she ended up posting receipts, like screenshots of what she was making, showing, yeah, she was making like 50 grand a month. Sorry, $50,000 a month. That's more than a lot of people's yearly salaries in America right now. And she just was lying about it. And people called her out on it. And that's the kind of people that I want. Like, a lot of people started pushing her more and more when creators were showing their stuff. And I think that's very important to, like, push creators. If you're going to be following them because they're doing a good cause, you're going to be donating to them or whatever, you need to make sure it's actually going where it says it's going to be. Like, if you just want to keep the money to yourself and you're a content creator as your job, that's one thing. If you like, that's, as long as you're transparent about that, then that's not a problem. Like, that's your choice, right? It's when you say you're going to donate or when you say you're going to help these groups and then don't, that's when it's a problem. It's almost like some of these large creators and influencers are basically the same as large companies at this point when it comes to donations. Because that's another thing. If you don't know, if you go to like checkout in Walmart, it's like, do you want to donate $1 to this or donate $1 to that? One of two things is going to happen. Either they're not actually donating, it's not going to the cause that they say it is. They will purposely like get to keep it within themselves. They run those organizations. Or if they are donating it, all that money you gave them to donate, they then donate it to that company or that nonprofit, charity, whatever it is. And they donate it under their name, so they get a tax break. You are paying for these large companies' taxes, literally. Like, if Walmart gets $1 million in donations for Make-A-Wish, and even though it's all the customers who made that $1 million donation, congratulations, that's $1 million in tax write-off that they get to claim for their company. And that's why I always tell people, if you're going to donate to a cause, donate directly. I know there's a lot of people like make skits about how like embarrassing or shameful it is to turn somebody down about rounding up your change or whatever. But do not be embarrassed because a lot of these companies are just full of shit. You are going to see a lot of that during Pride Month. Every freaking company out there saying, oh, we're donating to this organization for Pride, blah, blah. Be like, okay, what's the organization? Write it down, and if you want to make a donation, go donate to the actual organization. One last thing I wanted to address related to Men's Mental Health Month that I've been seeing a lot of talk about is Tinder's new update about the height thing. And I think it's so fucking stupid. Like, what do you mean there's now a feature to, like, regulate people's height? I never understood that. Like, I never got it. So I have a rule. Because I'm a very short person. I am 5'2". I have a rule. If I am dating someone, doesn't matter if they're a man or a woman, they have to fall into one of two categories. They either have to be 2 to 3 inches taller than me, so like 5'3", 5'6", or above because I'm 5'2", or they have to come with a stepladder. That is my rule. I don't mind if you're shorter than me, but I need you to come with a stepladder because one of us has to be able to reach the top shelf without me climbing on the counter, okay? You do not, I mean, my husband is 6 foot, and I've had other partners that are like 5'10", 5'6". I dated a guy once that was 5 foot. And my only rule was, I was like, as long as you're willing to climb up on something so I can to get something from the top shelf, because I don't want to fucking do it. And as long as you're okay with me wearing heels. That's another thing is I don't understand, like, when guys get upset if you're taller than them in heels. Okay, if you're 5 foot, what do you want me to do about that? Okay, like, there's no shame in it. Okay, honestly, if you're short like that and you date a taller woman and she puts on some heels, dude, your dessert is now right in your face. I don't know why you complaining. So I really don't understand the height, like, why the height thing. Why did they add the height thing to Tinder? I think it's just really stupid. But also, on top of that, like, on top of, that whole conversation, what's the point in it? Because people have their heights on their profile already, and women are already going to, if they don't like a short guy, just not swipe on that. So what's the point in adding a filter to it too? Also, anybody could just lie about their height on there. Like, what the fuck? Like, come on now. What's the point in that? That's as stupid as you sat there and made this feature for what? Like, what was the point? I don't think anybody should be judging somebody off of their height, but It's also, if somebody is the kind of person that judges them off their height, they're just going to look at their profile anyways. So why did you add it to a feature? In conclusion, love whoever you want to love, be whoever you want to be. Fuck Lily Tino, fuck Chris Chan. Not literally, obviously. Fucking pray that pedophiles stop breathing and stop pushing harmful stereotypes towards men and the masculinity and stuff, and acting like their mental health doesn't matter when it matters just as much. It does not make you less of a man. It matters just as much as a woman's mental health. And dump all of those toxic, shitty people in your life, because you will always be lonelier if you are in a room full of people who do not care about you, rather than if you're sitting by yourself still looking, or with one or two people. It is much happier, and you will feel a lot less lonely surrounded by people that actually want to be around you, that actually care about you. As I talked about earlier, this will probably get released tonight on Wednesday because I just had surgery. I can't get out of the bed, so I literally pulled my setup in here. But starting next week, the GameStop stories and stuff will be every Monday, and then we will have a part 2, which will go over plobs and stuff and whatever special topic on Thursdays. There's also going to be a lot of Dami and ER stories on Thursdays. And yes, I'm aware that I missed Autistic Awareness Month. Autistic Acceptance Month. I had just started the podcast when that happened, so I did not get a chance to, but I will eventually circle back and do an episode on autism, especially as someone who is autistic and has also helped a lot of autistic children actually defy the odds according to their doctors. I wasn't really defying the odds. It's just I gave them a chance and I figured out like how they learned and helped them with it rather than giving up on them like most doctors. And I will eventually, I promise, I am trying to figure it out. I will eventually make the dating advice for men videos. Like I said, I'm going to make another channel. I'll just figure out what the heck I'm going to name it. And that'll also be a separate podcast too. Because half the problem is a lot of these men getting bad advice from other men just trying to scam them. So I'm going to give out real, actual working, proven working advice for free. Also, please be safe during Pride, because you know that it puts a target on your back if you are part of the queer community from, you know, homophobic and TERFs and stuff like that. So it can be, make sure you're traveling in packs. That sounds so weird to say packs, but traveling in groups. If you're coming or going to Pride, if you are wearing Pride merch, please don't be alone, especially in like walking home at night or at dark at the gas station and stuff, because you have no idea. If you don't know, I actually got hate grammed a couple years ago in Orlando, so please be careful. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and as always, I am a Kindle with interchangeable accessories for their pleasure. And remember, all of your mental health matters. It does not matter what's in your pants.